the last podcast there, but luckily it's the first one in the morning and we can change the sound, so hopefully it's going to be better now. I'll just check with this and check with this podcast and find out if the sound is now fixed. Yesterday, because Nigel set up Reform UK as a company, he was then able to retain control of the political party, the political entity, by him being the shareholders. I think him and Richard Tice were shareholders in the company that was Reform UK. And Nigel announced that it was going to democratise. I think he gave the explanation. They did this because reform to stop any untoward, shall we say, individuals coming in and jeopardising the progress of the actual political party. So he's now relinquishing control. Obviously, there's been a massive increase in the amount of people who have joined Reform UK. So it's gone from a very small number. I think it's sitting over nearly 80,000, and it's increasing exponentially just now. So it's gone from one or two individuals to 80,000 now, and it seems to be increasing. Also, the number of councillors who are defecting, either independent councillors in Wales or councillors who were actually councillors with other political parties such as the Conservative Party, are defecting to Reform. So we've now got an increase in the membership, and now they're trying to get a branch structure in, so that in each constituency there are people who will represent the actual individual constituencies. Obviously, I think there's about 650 odd constituencies in the UK and Northern Ireland, I think. Some of them are not taken up. Some Sinn Féin actually control, and they're not actually taken up. So I think it goes down to like 641. Obviously, the next significant political election is going to be the English Council elections, and then it's going to be the Scottish elections. I don't know if the Welsh elections are going at the same time. Obviously, Reform, like other smaller or start-up parties, require the second vote. It's unlikely they're going to get anybody elected on a constituency basis from the first vote by itself, but on the second vote there is a requirement for the second vote, and it's sitting at 11%. In fact, I think they could actually go into third place in Scotland above the Conservative Party, which would be absolutely massive. If they get into third in the first real standing in Scotland, that's going to be absolutely huge. And because of the breakdown with the other political parties, unless the SNP and Labour make some sort of deal, they could be kingmakers. And obviously these sort of governments, especially minoritarian governments, are going to be fragile. So if there's any problems between the coalition between Labour and the SNP, which I'm sure there probably will be, a significant number of UK Reform and also probably combined with Conservative MSPs will have some sort of balance of power play in the Scottish Parliament. So it will change the dynamic up to a point, but because both Labour and the SNP are both left-wing parties, and will probably still after the next Scottish election have the majority of seats, then a combination of the SNP and the Labour Party in Scotland is not going to change the actual dynamic of policy. And even an increase in the number of MSPs from Reform is not going to change the actual policies that are brought forward in the Scottish Parliament, which means it's more of the same in Scotland because of the left-wing parties, and the Labour Party has supported 80% of the policies brought forward by the SNP. So changing from SNP to Labour is not going to change policy, and it's the change of policy, not personnel, that we require in Scotland. So Nigel is now going to democratise, increase the actual local party branch structure in preparation for the English council elections, and then obviously on the back of that for the Scottish and the Welsh Assembly elections as well. So I just thought we'd bring that.